get started. We got like a long afternoon in front of us. Welcome. It's more of an informal setting out here, like around a table, and we can ask questions. So first, we will go through some of the introductions and set the agenda for the evening, and then open it up in the end for questions too. First, I want to thank all of you guys for stepping up and wanting to, and there are a lot of candidates out here. This is a big responsibility, wanting to step up into this environment and provide this type of service that you do want to volunteer and serve our students, serve our community. So thank you for stepping into this role. I say that because a lot of times this is a thankless job, especially over the last 2 or 3 years with the pandemic. And any decisions that the board end up making, it seems like we end up a group of people that are happy with us, a group of people that are unhappy, and we hear it all the time from up here during a board meeting. There can be times that are frustrating, but more importantly, there are a lot of times that are fulfilling when we know that we are moving the district in the right direction. The decisions that we are making is impacting students in the classrooms. So with that, what we will do is today we will start by giving an overview of the district. What are some of the focus areas, priorities? We will talk about running for the school board, some do's and don'ts, what it takes as far as time commitment goes, expectations, planning, preparations, other responsibilities that may come with it, the roles of the board, the roles of the superintendent, working relationship with the superintendent. We will cover it more at the 30,000 feet level, and then if you have more specific questions, we can provide opportunities for you to connect you with the right persons to answer those questions. So I'll start by going around and introducing the people that are here, and I'll start with myself first. And a lot of the board members are also candidates at this point in time. So it could be that there are certain board members that are candidates. So this is not a campaign platform, so all I expect is from your side, like a brief introduction, what do you bring to the table, what's your professional background, something like that. So myself, I'm Parth Melpakam. I got elected in 2019. This is my 4th year on the board. First 2 years I served as the treasurer, and the last 2 years now as the board president. I've lived here in Colorado Springs for the past 25 years. I've got a child in District 11. My professional background is I've got a doctorate in chemical and petroleum engineering, so a lot of the work that I do is related to that. I am one of the candidates that is running for re-election.
Jason Jorgensen, Vice President School Board at the moment, finishing up first term and running for re-election. Financial advisor by trade, father of 4 young kids, and looking to keep up the momentum with academics and new leadership and all that. So excited to run again.
I'm Lauren Nelson. I was elected in 2021 and I serve as the treasurer. I have 2 kids in a D11 elementary school, and I grew up in D11 K through 12. And it's been a whirlwind, but it is rewarding, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve the kids.
And she's got 2 more years. She's not the candidate
Right.
in this election.
I'm Thomas Carey. I'm a new candidate, first time running. I have my PhD in chemistry from the University of Colorado Boulder. I've been teaching at the university level since then. I have 5 kids, one of whom is special needs, and I'm hoping to bring the perspective of a teacher and a parent to the board.
I'm Jill Hafley. I'm a retired teacher, 30 years, 29 of those 30 in District 11, 27 of which were at Coronado. First time running, and glad to be here.
I'm Rachel Paul. Wow, that's impressive. I'm also an educator, semi-retired. I was a teacher for 10 years, principal for 17 years. I live here in District 11. I've been in the El Paso County for 34 years and Colorado Springs for about 6. I'm currently working for the Colorado Department of Education, part-time supporting principals in evaluating teachers. So I'm hoping to bring that teacher perspective because, like you, I'm an educator. So.
Awesome.
And I'll come to you in a minute, both of you. Let's finish the candidates and do this, and then I'll come to you.
Hi, I'm Darlene Daniels.
I'll be
I've been on the board since 2019. Have 4 students, 2 graduates, 2 high schoolers. Been in the city for a little over 20 years or so. Parent in PTA, DAC, SAC, all of those different capacities, and currently a substitute teacher.
My name is Shayana Dabney. I go by Shay. I have been a resident of Colorado Springs my entire life. I was born and raised here. I'm a D11 alumni. I am currently the Mitchell SAC chair. In my professional capacity, I am the program and operations manager at a local nonprofit.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for being here. So looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the candidates are up here at this time. We also have some district admin people. I'll go with you, Chief Bailey. Introduce, please.
I'm Phoebe Bailey, Chief of Personnel Support Services, but I am your designated election official, so kind of the watchdog and the individual that people will call me and ask questions relative to do's and don'ts of the election, which we will get into later on toward the end of this presentation.
My name is Kevin Cook. I'm the education support professional. I've been in the district going on 20 years now. Also a D11 alumni and a D2 alumni. That's where I graduated from. I'm here to look, listen, learn, observe, and respect.
So Mr. Cook represents the education support professional. Is the official title president of that group, or
Yes.
what do you call it?
Yes.
President, okay. He's the president of the educational support. So this is his first year in that role, so we are looking forward to what
He's sitting over there. That's
Yeah.
what
he brings to the
Am I
table.
loud?
So I think I saw the superintendent walk into his office. He will be joining us momentarily. So I will start by talking about the board itself. The board in 2022, January of 2022, initially when we came and the new board members and the superintendent Gall is joining us. When the new board members got elected in November of 2021, the first role that board took on responsibility was setting a clear vision and direction for the district. And that started by defining what the board priorities were, which is captured in that banner that's right in front of the board. And it was the priorities' main focus was going to be on student success, staff investment, parent engagement or community engagement, and then overall the future vision for the district. How are we going to grow as a district as far as enrollment goes? What are our future opportunities for growth and development? How do we reverse the trend of declining enrollment that the district has seen over the last 20 years? Each one of those priorities, we attached specific metrics to it, and that brought a culture of accountability into that system. And into that system, there was an administration change at that time. The district went out, the board went out and did an extensive hiring search throughout the country, and we identified the right candidate for the right situation at the time, and that was Superintendent Gall. His skill set and what he brought to the table fit the unique needs of the district at that time. And Superintendent Gall can introduce himself, but in a minute, and I will hand it over to you.
Great.
But as soon as he came into that system, he aligned and made sure that the board priorities was the focus, that it's going to be students. Students come first in District 11. First and foremost, students come first, and we wanted to put the focus on, we are primarily an education institution, so we wanted to bring back excellence into District 11. When you look at 15, 20 years, the district performance has been pretty much stagnant, and sometimes it goes down, it'll go down, up a little bit, but we wanted to show a steady trend of upward growth and achievement. Over the last year, we have focused on diverting the money as much as possible closest to the schools and the classrooms, expanding pre-K opportunities, expanding CTE opportunities, academic pathways, raising the teacher salary. There are so many things, increasing 30 minutes of instruction time in elementary schools, and even the board took on the responsibility of sending out regular newsletters, so we are directly communicating with our stakeholders out there. With that introduction, I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent Gall. His leadership has brought visionary change into the District 11 over the last year. Initially, the board hired him on a one-year contract, and then last January, the board did a mid-year evaluation based on his performance of 6 months. He had met all the expectations of the board at that time, and the board unanimously extended his contract for an additional 3 years. And we look forward to working with him. And with that, Superintendent Gall, I will introduce you, and maybe you can set a vision. And
I will do what I've been doing all day.
Yeah,
It's been such a great day. It's so fun to be able to do this on the first day of school. So I'm going to just hand out some stuff here. I'm going to try and stay far away from you all because I've been running around that I'm sure you could smell me before I walked in the door. It's just one of those days, but it's been super exciting. Hi, Shane.
And you're on the clock. You're on the clock, Superintendent.
Great.
About 10 minutes or so.
I will treat you as if you're a candidate and I don't know you, but I appreciate you being here. Kevin, it's great to see you. Are you running? I'm excited to know that if you are.
I'm running, but it's not.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Hey, I was in.
I am sorry to see that you look like you're having an arm issue, but I think you were right-handed, so we're fine. We're okay. We'll treat everybody as one and the same. I love that, I'm sure.
Thank you.
And it's not the soft cotton. I keep telling everybody we gotta upgrade the cotton. Because that stuff's like burlap. So I hand to you the performance report that Dr. Malpacum shared about me being on a one-year contract. I put this together at mid-year to make a soft version of a strategic plan. I ran out a one-year contract to show that I felt that the community had been very clear in what it said the school district needed through the comprehensive feedback opportunities during the superintendent search. And so on a one-year contract, what I didn't want to do is say, well, I'm going to take the first year to go walk around and find out what everybody needs. I read every one of the pieces of feedback. There were 200 some odd pages of community feedback during the superintendent search. And then in aligning with the board priorities, I came up with really a 3/4 part strategy. It's about achievement, it's about enrollment, it's about engagement / communication. How is it that we talk about that? And so what you'll find in here is that plan that we put forward. You'll also find that's available on the webpage. Also available at the end was my superintendent's evaluation at the end of the year to report out on a lot of those metrics. But as some of the high-level things that we've done, and I just have to thank the full support of the board, the community, and the excellent executive and ESP and certified staff that we have here in the district to be able to realize so much change in such a short period of time. It's very easy to be new to a system, but it's very hard to then change that system. So we moved very quickly from what I call observation to action. And so what you'll see here that I'll just touch upon very briefly from a communication standpoint, we launched a series of town halls. We did them in every high school cluster. So we rethought the package of schools, which had been for the last several years grouped by band. Elementary schools need similar things as elementary schools. That is true. Middle schools have commonality. That is true. High schools have specific needs. Totally agree with that. But we flipped that model back to trying to understand how do we get enrollment and engagement and communication connected together. How do we make choice an active part of District 11 and not a passive excuse of why we continue to lose families? So we went on a series of town halls that aligned to how we took our principal management team and now put them in a K-12 continuum, vertical continuum. So now, as we have many of our families who go Steele, North, Palmer, or go Scott, Jenkins, Doherty, don't leave it for choice. Let's put an exclamation point on that. So we held a series of town halls in each one of those regions to start to get some feedback from the system to understand how did they feel about some of that. So that is also covered in the instructional support model of how we really wanted to take the resources from central office and flip the script that schools felt supported from central office. The oxymoron of most public education systems is, hi, I'm from central office and I'm here to help, right? Most schools will be like, yeah, right. So we flipped that, and in the first year, I called it my first free move. I took executive directors of school leadership and renamed them area superintendents. I took empower coaches and renamed them as area instructional coaches. So every one of those area superintendents walked around with somebody who's wicked smart on instruction. The number one way to improve student achievement is through access to high quality instruction. That is the very being of everything we do as a school district. So we delivered that through the area superintendent's model, the area instructional coaches. This year that has expanded. Special ed has realigned itself now into that same area model. The capital budgets team has realigned itself to that area model. The custodial team, thank you Kevin for your support through ESP, has realigned itself and promoted from within managerial opportunities to fit into that type of model. Every resource gets to schools. That's what we do. There's no empire building, there's actually a distribution of leadership and resources to the site. We could not be more excited for the feedback that we've gotten there and seeing the growth embargoed, but you will all read in the next couple of days the incredible results we're seeing on CMAS. There are a lot of conditions that went into my arrival, but I got here, there were 4 schools on the watch list, and then this time last year we went up to 17. So we quadrupled the number of schools. Nobody's to fault for that, I just accepted that and we said, how do we get those 17 off? So we're excited about a distribution of resource as close to the student as possible. That is the point of impact in education. You can read it from the left and you can read it from the right, and it says the same thing. Access to high quality instruction is the fastest way to increase student achievement. So there's a direct relationship between achievement and enrollment. We understand that we had to up the quality of what we did. The other thing that the district has been very clear on now is being active in this game of choice. The academic master plan existed within this community before my arrival. I would like to take credit for operationalizing that. How do we get the pathway schools to life? I've seen many of you out and about. Just go to our pathway schools this year. You'll feel it. You walk into an art school now, it feels like an art school. You walk into a STEM school, it feels like a STEM school. Specific training for those teachers, hired specific leaders for those schools, having parents feel that we built that school for them. You don't walk into Columbia now and think that you're at Taylor. You walk into Columbia now and you're hit with Arts Plus integration, because that's what our community asked for. And so this idea of being active in choice of enrollment. We've all studied the demographers' numbers. Families are just not having as many kids that we used to. Some of the people at the table I know have more than, I think the average is like 2.2. Some end over there, you're at like 9.5 each. I'm just kidding. But what we realize is that we've been leaving 30% of the market share on the table. So we will actually grow. This is a district that is growing, not because Colorado Springs is growing, but because we have taxpayers within the boundaries of District 11 who actively choose to not attend District 11 schools. That is changing. That is literally changing right now. You walk our elementary schools will be in the positive this year. We are very certain that overall the district will be in the positive, but I will promise right now that elementary schools will be there, bursting at the seams. There are still challenges in secondary. There are challenges across the country in secondary. Our panorama data says it. It's not District 11, it's nationwide. High schoolers are disengaged from the experience. They are the ones that have the most obstacle to overcome from COVID, and now we're on kids that were in the 8th grade-ish when they're now in those mid-years of high school. But that bubble is still coming through the system. Remember, our kindergartners don't know what COVID was, especially if they were in a family that had a parent that stayed at home and cared for them. Maybe their play date arrangements were different, but they didn't miss what a lot of our middle schoolers missed. That's a bubble that's gonna take a generation to get through. So we still have a disengagement in high school. Our idea on high school is we've coined this idea of high school is finding your excellence through experience. Our students want a more active environment than the more passive way that didactic or direct instruction has gone for years. That's hard for us because most of us as adults have lived a direct didactic instruction model. We want to change that. We want to get to a place where students are actively choosing our schools. We have had growth in some of our secondary schools, and it is thanks to specific marketing campaigns that we have launched on our boundary or our border areas. We know that if we tell the story differently than letting people tell the story for us, again, being active, we can recapture that market share. We actually right now are seeing growth at Coronado. I met a family there just last Friday that was bringing their freshmen in from Manitou district. And they were there specifically because Coronado is a bigger school, it offers more programs. They saw more program and opportunity. They were not dissatisfied with their Manitou experience. Their kids all go to elementary and middle school, but for them, the regional high school where they could get access to high quality arts programming, high quality after school programming, high quality sports programming was in a true comprehensive high school. So we're excited about that. I really want to thank the board and the community for being open to that idea. The other, for being specific on that marketing. We've also shifted our thinking on charter schools, and we know that I certainly know that charter schools can be a four-letter word in systems. We are the only school district in El Paso County that has CSI authorized charters within its border. Every other district has found a way to find holding charters to a high degree through authorization to deliver a high quality experience. It's not about pro-charter or anti-charter in our district. Right now, it's about high quality seat. And so this year we welcome James Irwin Academy into the portfolio through a transfer. They applied through transfer to change their authorization from CSI to District 11. There may be others that come forward. We actually turned some schools down because they didn't meet that expectation. So it's not a floodgate open, it's bringing quality back to District 11. And again, I always say, don't hate the player, hate the game. The number one strategy that District 11 could impose, we don't have the authority to do. Get the governor to eliminate choice. Go back to boundary schools. If we go back to boundary schools, District 11 for 1 year will buoy itself between 25 and 30%. And then we'll see a real estate collapse. Because parents will not go to schools that they don't believe their students will be successful in. So what choice does, it allows you to keep your house and make your choice. If we lock people in and say you got to go to a boundary school, then they're just going to move out of their neighborhood, and that's not any more healthy. So don't hate the player, hate the game. We celebrate choice. We've done it very well through the academic master plan in giving our community the AMP schools that they've asked for in Pathways. We're going to do that more in our secondary, and we are accepting of high quality charters as they are taxpayers in our district. They pay taxes to fund District 11, and then they go to schools that are funded by the state because District 11 couldn't see that that charter might be a choice and a pathway for what a family actually needs. And just as a data point, when we started, 4,500 kids were authorized by CSI charters. That's the size of District 12. So we birth every year Cheyenne Mountain School District 12 as taxpayers who leave their money on the table and go somewhere else. That's not a healthy, sustainable portfolio. Anybody who manages money or even makes a menu for their family, you don't make pasta every night, 5 nights in a row. You have a portfolio approach. We want to use choice as the center of that portfolio. It's not pro-charter, it's not anti-charter, it's not every school gets to do whatever it is. It's us being cognizant of what families are choosing. And across the state, again, and particularly in El Paso County, we were the only ones that had CSI authorized schools, which means all of the rest of Colorado Springs, and to large degrees, like TCA is not a small school. Atlas is not a small campus. These are places that are serving families very well. So we seek to see that as an opportunity. The other thing that has really worked very well for us is just this two-part axis that we call time and quality. And I don't want people to think of them in the literal sense. Time doesn't mean we want students learning 10 or 12 hours a day. Brain science shows that that's not true. But the 30 minutes that the previous board or the board or before I got here bought in increased the amount of instructional time just to get us on average with all the other districts in the area. We were the lowest amount of instructional time for elementary school. Increased time can also mean after-school programming. The previous board has generously funded after-school programs, mostly in priority and title schools, of which we have seen incredible bumps in performance and attendance and enrollment. Families need those types of services. Our summer school program, just go watch the tape from last week at the board meeting. We had the data, we reported the data, we got focused on that instructional time, and it worked. And the quality, the district, again, before I got here, best first instruction. It's all about increasing the quality of what happens in every classroom. If every adult in the system can be 10% better than they were the day before, if you think about a 10% bump in a student outcome, that's on the front page of the Denver Post. When we ask each of us to do 10% more, everybody goes, well, I can't. I have this. You got to pay me for that. I don't really know. We're in two different worlds. Our meter is off. 10% growth for a child should be the least of what we're expecting. But when we ask 10% of adults, we get pushed back all the time. So we're not going to ask adults anymore. We're just going to guarantee 10% or more for every one of our kids. And we're close to it. This first year alone, we're there. And I think that's all I want to say, because I'm getting
Good. Yeah, that's okay. Well, I don't want to run too long after that. So thank you for painting where the district was when Superintendent Gall entered. And it's exciting to see some of the changes and especially the outcomes that our students and staff get to benefit from. As Superintendent Gall mentioned, our state testing data would be public in a couple of more days, so it looks very promising at this time. So we will hope and pray that that turns out as it is. Now moving on to some of the, Melissa, could you pull up that document that is on board, the roles and responsibilities of the board? Overall, yeah, this is available if you, the board, no, not that one. The Board of Education and Superintendent Working Agreement. Yeah, the one below, yeah, that's the one. So overall, we are a governance board. We set the overall vision for the district through policies, and then the superintendent is the operational leader to make that happen. So we kind of set the what for the district at the higher level, and then how we goes about achieving it. That's the superintendent's day-to-day operational purview that falls under it. That document up there was developed by the board and the superintendent about a year back. We went into a board retreat and we had an outside facilitator come in and help us develop that. And it shows the clear lanes for the Board of Education and the superintendent, what our roles and responsibilities are, what his roles and responsibilities are. We don't micromanage, we don't tell him how to go and operate a certain specific school, except through, he's got to follow the policies that we put into place out there. That's the overarching governing thing, along with all the state and federal laws that are also there. And some of it we are also constrained by the master agreement, which is the agreement that we have with employee groups. So some of that clearly defines how the superintendent can operate in running the school district. But we set that overarching vision through those board priorities and then through our governance and the policies. And when you go back, Melissa, back to that board page, and when you look down there, pull it down a little bit, Melissa. All the board policies are listed in that page out there on the left-hand side. Right there under the tag policies, and that opens up all the board policies that are there. So it is something that you need to be familiar with, but you don't need to spend a lot of time at this point in time. But overarching, that's how we do the governance out there through those set of policies that are out there. The board schedule, I will briefly talk about that, and maybe some of the others can chime in too. If you are elected to the board, then you pretty much have to set aside your Wednesdays from 4 o'clock to sometimes it's 10, 11 o'clock. Hopefully our meetings will get a little bit more shorter and shorter as the changes that we are putting into place take roots. But usually between 4 and 10, and now I know that we've had a board that has had that flexibility to start at 4 o'clock. When I started attending board meetings didn't start until 6:30 before, and work sessions didn't start till 5:30. That depends upon the work schedule of the board that gets elected, and the board will decide at the time. If some of you have a 9 to 5 job and cannot come until 5:30, then the board would have to consider moving the work sessions downstairs a little bit further down there. Essentially, that afternoons are the ones that you have to set aside from 4 to 10 o'clock board agenda, whether it is a work session or a board meeting. And then with that comes some of the preparation. It lists all the board meetings out there, what it is. Usually we get the month of July off for the summer break and then the holiday season during the Christmas break and spring break and things of that nature. But other than that, those are the times that you essentially have to set aside. One of the good things about technology these days coming out of the pandemic is that you can participate remotely. I think Director Art is joining us remotely today. And so that you have that option to join. I think the board policy says up to 5 board meetings remotely. If it goes anything more than 5 board meetings, then you would have to inform the board president at the time, and the board has to provide that latitude for anything more than 5 meetings. It happened with one of the board directors when she was involved in an accident and that. So when there are legitimate reasons, we will find a way to accommodate you. But set aside that time, and then you'll have to prepare for that agenda as it comes up. Your initial growth, depending on where you come from, the first year is going to be, you're going to be drinking out of a fire hose. Some of you may have that K-12 background. You've been a teacher, so some of the acronyms and the educational lingo may not be new to you, but others are not in the K-12 educational world. You may have to, but what you will find is the board schedule usually normally follows the same pattern. In January, we are looking at the same thing year after year. In August and September, we are looking at the state testing data that comes up. In April, we are looking at the budget. So it's cyclical. So if you go through one cycle, then you would have a better understanding of everything, how it falls into place. And then as far as the time commitment itself throughout the week, it just depends on how much time you have and how much you want to engage in the schools and the I'll turn it over to Vice President Jurgensen. Maybe he can talk about the time commitment and also what the board found was the allocation of schools and how we take a group of schools. Maybe you can elaborate on that.
Sure. Yeah, I think, wanting to have school board members present in all the schools, we kind of designed a matrix or a site visit list for having every school have a visit by a board member. Doesn't mean you don't have to do just that. You can do above and beyond that, as many board members do. But just making sure that we have a board member presence in our schools. So we kind of created that and that started that last year. As far as the time commitment goes, and one thing I'd like for the current board even to look at doing is having prep work done a little bit sooner, so that some of the questions can get to Mr. Gall and his executive team before board meetings and before work sessions. So those run a little bit shorter, so it's not 4 to 10 every night, maybe like 4 to 9 or something like that, which everybody would smile and say, yes, please. So trying to encourage that kind of more prep work for board members, which is a time commitment. Having 4 kids, 6 and under is a lot, and you work until midnight trying to prep, or you've got a job and you got things going on. So trying to prep and be ready for the board meetings is super critical, because then you're informed when you come to sit down at the table to have the discussion to do the work. As far as time commitments go, reviewing email, prepping for things is probably a few hours a week. And then if you're doing any school site visits after that, or you get an invite to a theater or a production or something like that, then you've got everything, on top of that. So I usually try to tell people plan on at least 10 hours, maybe sometimes 20 per week. So some people can't do that. And so it might be something that you consider just going, well, to serve the board well and to come informed with questions ready to Mr. Gall and his team ahead of time, maybe I don't have that bandwidth. And so, that's for your own internal, processing to figure out. But I think for us to be an effective board moving forward and for the next board to be effective if I'm not here, is that we're ready and giving Mr. Gall the best governance team for him to be able to do his job. So
How are you?
that's about it.
So like what Director Jurgensen talked about, we separate our 50+ schools into 7 or 8 schools. And those are the schools that you are assigned. You can visit those schools multiple times, develop a relationship with that community, essentially. That's the expectation, get to know the staff. That way you are kind of the source point for that school. And then you can provide that feedback, and that will kind of alternate. After a year, you will be assigned a different set of schools. There'll be a whole bunch of other things. You may be asked to participate in school events. Graduation ceremonies is another thing that you will be asked to speak at. Community events that will come up, that you will get a invite to. Committee meetings that happen late in the evening. Sometimes a budget subcommittee meeting will be meeting, or a tax subcommittee meeting will be meeting. And if you have the bandwidth at the time, you can go and attend those meetings. A lot of times you will find it very educational and informational, and will prepare you better to come and ask the right questions at the board dais. But the expectation is that you come prepared out there to ask the right questions, that you have looked at all the agenda, you are prepared to ask the right questions. Anything else that I missed on that front? So it just depends. And sometimes if you have an officer position, that may take a little bit more time. Director Bank is responsible for replying back to all the emails on behalf of the board that the district receives. So some days she may get like 20 emails, and the expectation is that she will do it in a timely manner. Director Nelson has got treasurer responsibilities, so she may have some meetings with the finance department out there and trying to have a better grasp of the overall thing. And with me, in my role, I'm responsible for setting the agenda along with Vice President Jurgensen. Sometimes I feel like I put in 25 to 30 hours on work, on the board work every week. So it just depends on how much time you have, but the more you go into the schools, the more you are informed about it. Out here on the board dais, it looks all like business, and sometimes the stress gets to you, but out there is what we are doing. So when you go to schools and see the students, then you see the why we are doing it, and it attaches to this back here when we have to do that. Again, I've talked about the policies that are up there, so have an idea about the policies. That's how we govern the district. Anything I missed out, Director Daniels, that you would like to add?
Questions maybe?
Yeah, we will get to that. I will first turn it over to Chief Bailey out there, and she can talk about some of the elections do and don'ts, and what is allowed and what is not.
So, sticking with the agenda, let's talk about signs. Your signs cannot be on any school district property, okay? So instead of saying 7 or 10 feet, they need to be across the street, all right? If perchance any of your signs, from your supporters end up putting a sign on district property, the district has been informed to pick up the sign, lay the sign down, and then we will have someone call you to come and pick up your sign. We will not destroy your property, that's your property, but we just lay it down, right where it should not be, and then they will be requested to come and pick it up, okay? We talk about tables. Some of you may have reached out to our D11 Engage department and partnered with them by paying a $30 fee, vendor fee, in order to have a table at some of the open houses. That is allowed, and that is allowed for you to, you're a vendor, you're acting in the capacity of a vendor, for your campaign, so that is allowed. You are not allowed to pass out any campaign material outside the school, request signatures, anything outside the school without contacting D11 Engage to have some type of a partnership agreement, okay?
So if you don't have a table, you can't do that.
That is
And that's
correct.
only at the open houses that you can have that table. Otherwise, you don't come into our schools or school property to pass out information, flyers, anything of that nature. Did I get that right?
Correct,
Okay.
unless you're across the street if you have not partnered with D11 Engage, okay? Yes,
So the fee is $20 per hour this year.
oh, it's $20 per hour?
And that's in their packets.
Okay, thank you, all right.
How does that work for folks that already have a role or a presence in the district?
We'll get to that.
Okay, gotcha.
We'll get to that. All right, district staff, what I passed out to you are the seven simple do's and don'ts. And our staff has received this document anytime during their work hours, utilizing district equipment, technology, anything that pertains to anything that we provide them as being employees within the district, they are not allowed to support your campaign during their work hours utilizing anything that is purchased by the district, okay? On their lunch hour, lunch half an hour, lunch 15 minutes, they're free to do that, okay? Because that's their time, their break time for our education support professionals, that's their time, all right? We don't control their time that is designated and identified by federal labor laws, all right? After school, weekends, that's their time. A question did come up for an open house. An employee asked, could they support one of the candidates? It is kind of a standard practice for teachers within the district to support the open house or after-school events. So they cannot support your campaigns during that time because that is still district time. And, we kind of negotiate, principals will negotiate that time with their staff. So if they're giving of that time, which is considered work time, even though it's after hours, then, principals will give them that time back at a different time, okay?
Now, can they sign a petition if you go to an open house?
If you have purchased
Right, if you've purchased.
correct.
Okay.
Okay, because you're the vendor, that's what you're doing at that time, okay?
I mean, the school employee is what I mean. Is that a yes? Like if there's a teacher at the open house that comes up to your table and wants to talk about, whatever, can they sign your petition during an open house or a meet the teacher?
So are teachers allowed to sign petitions during?
They're allowed to sign petitions, but not during their work time,
Yeah, during the work.
okay?
Okay.
So, right, not
Cause I
during
had
their
several
work
come
time.
up to wanna
Right.
talk to me and I was like, I didn't know, so I
Right.
just told them no, I'd catch them some other time. but-
Basically during their work time.
Yeah, that makes
Okay.
sense.
So even though they're at an open house, they could have had a break. So,
Yeah.
and they know that if it's their break time,
Oh, okay. so maybe
then, right, they can do whatever they want to do during their break time.
Or if they don't have any ID card or something,
Correct,
how
if
do you
they,
know?
right, right.
Yeah, okay,
And they may have taken it off because we just sent out the notification on badges.
okay.
Okay?
Anything else that you need to address, Chief?
No, but if you have any questions, call me.
And,
Okay, my number's at the bottom.
As you go along, once the election is over, Chief Bailey or somebody from her department will also coordinate with you if you are elected and you are one of the 4 board members that are elected and get to sit on the board. She will give you the timeline, what you need to do, oath of office, things of that nature.
Correct. But between Melissa and I, we will be reaching out to you when there are certain things that need to happen after the election, like he said, oath of office and things of that nature. We will make sure that you stay well informed.
Yeah.
Okay, we will find you.
It all follows on a timeline, the city or the local county has to certify the elections first and then after that. With that, each of you will also have an opportunity to meet with the superintendent one-on-one. So he and his coordinate with this office. I don't know if it's 30 minutes, 45 minutes, what time you are going to open up.
45 minutes is, because 30 will go by before
Okay,
we shake
45
hands.
minutes then. So
Shauna.kurtz@d11.org, SJAHNA. Is it on there, Melissa?
I have her business cards,
Yep.
Okay,
so we can
great.
pass them out.
Pass those out.
Okay, so reach out to Ms. Kurtz and she would be able to figure out a time. And that is purely optional. He is willing to open up that time to meet with you and some of the questions. Now, he talked for about 10 minutes here. Now you may have some follow-up questions specifically on some of the things that he talked about. And that would be the opportunity for you to engage with him and find out a little bit more the direction the district is headed in. Even board members would be happy to meet with you. I'm talking about not candidates itself, but if there are other board members that you want to reach out to and talk to them outside of this for a cup of coffee or something like that. I also wanted to pass this out. Could you pass this out? So this is a parent.
Give me more information. Oh, you went the other way?
I think I went the other way.
Gotcha.
So you got.
Sorry about that.
Some of them may already have it. So at the end of.
You just needed one more.
I need one.
I'm coming around. Gotcha.
At the end of the last school year, we made a concerted effort to make sure that parents were going to be integral part of the child's education. So this is a policy that the board adopted, which is called the Parent Partnership Policy. You will find it under the foundational and fundamental policies. And it essentially talks about that we recognize the role the parents play in the education of their kids. And with some of the recognition that comes that way, it also comes their responsibility to make sure that the students are prepared and come to school. So this is something that we want to ensure. Without parent engagement, we are not going to achieve. Superintendent Gall talked about instruction being high quality is necessary. I would say yeah.
Okay.
Parent engagement is right around along with it. That's all I have for you. If you have any questions, I'll open it up for questions quickly if you guys have any questions. More so if you have on to Chief Bailey, the process, anything specific on that, say if you have overall the board preparation, those kind of things, the other, if you want to know more about what Superintendent Gall talked about, you can engage with them in your personal time. But do you guys have any questions at this point in time that we can collectively help you with? Okay, no questions. So that means that I was clear as mud.
Great job, Bart.
Okay, so again, I want to thank you for your service to the community in this. I wish all of you the best. The next 3 months will be kind of hectic for each of you and figure out how best to use your time. Before, Director Loma just walked into the room. Director Loma,
Thank you all. Best of luck. We'll see you.
do you have any words of wisdom to share with our group?
You guys have good medical coverage or no? Thank you. I hate to say it like this, but it's gonna be a very thankless job.
I started with that.
It's gonna be, because the parents, their children could be Charles Manson, but they don't think so. And our teachers have to deal with them, and you're gonna get a lot of the flack. You're gonna get the blame. You'll get the blame for things that you have no control over. We do policy, but we have no control over everything that goes on in the classroom, but you will feel a lot of the brunt of the blame for everything. Even though you just got here, it's your fault that the last 20 years have been run a certain way. It'll be on you, so don't take it personal. And probably the best thing, don't take anything personal. Do the best you can according to your capacity. And if you can learn not to take it personal, you'll be okay. If you take it personal, you'll be a wreck. So don't take it personal. Because it isn't, they don't know you. Nobody knows me, and they talk about me all the time, and they don't know who I am, but they still talk, and I don't take it personal. It's emotions running high, and that happens. So if you can do that, you'll be okay. Because you're gonna get hit from both sides. You'll make one group happy one day, and the next group you make the other group happy, then one day they're both not gonna like you because you made them both unhappy. And you just gotta do what you feel is best. And don't worry about the noise, because there's a lot of noise. Especially if your picture gets on the Gazette, and, that'll really shock you. That may not happen, hopefully, but.
I think Dr. Lomas got some experience in that.
Oh, yeah, I got some experience.
Okay, with that, we will, thank you all for being here, again, wish you the best.